Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that's very, very troubling. It appears that some Democrats are trying to plot to subvert American democracy after campaigning for more than a year about protecting democracy and saying that our democracy is in danger, that we may not have another elections if Donald Trump wins. And so throughout the campaign, that they tried to make democracy a big issue, constantly referring to January 6th, the insurrection, where Donald Trump refused to accept that he lost the elections and his followers simply attacked the Capitol Hill with the explicit purpose of violently overthrowing the US government that was elected in 2020. And therefore, since that day, Joe Biden said he would restore democracy in America. That was his number one goal. Of course, he also said that he would promote peace and cooperation overseas, but all he did was fight two wars. But nevertheless, after campaigning for such a long time on promoting democracy, it comes as a bit of a shock to me that some Democrats are trying to subvert democracy, and that too to advance interests of a foreign country. So I'm going to talk about that in the show, but I'm also going to talk a little bit about the Department of Defense and ask this question: are American generals plotting an insurrection against Donald Trump? So these are the two questions that I want to address in this conversation. But before that, please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and also, if possible, share this video widely with your socio-political network. And do also consider joining Khanversations so you can support this independent medium where we dare to speak what others do not even dare to think. So let me also point out a couple of things to you. Look, when I say Democrats are black, I don't mean that Republicans are white unless I say so. So when you're listening to me, don't get caught up in this binary. So if I say Democrats are corrupt, I'm just saying Democrats are corrupt. I'm not saying Republicans are pious or they are not corrupt. So don't automatically assume the opposite. If I say Democrats are black, that means Democrats are black. It's quite possible Republicans are white, red, blue, or blacker. So keep that in mind, because I have a lot of things to say about the Democratic Party, especially after their billion-dollar debacle. They promised a lot and delivered nothing. Not just in 2024, but also in 2020. A lot of Biden's promises have not been fulfilled. I will be writing about that, and I will also be talking about it. And we will also be offering a lot of critique of the Donald Trump administration. And first, we will obviously catalog all the promises he's making. And as time goes along, we will see if he fulfills those promises. Plus, I don't agree with most of his promises. So I will provide a moral and otherwise a critique of Donald Trump's policies if I feel that they are undermining American national interest. Let me also tell you that these attempts at subverting democracy that some Democrats are plotting and some generals are also plotting are, in my opinion, they're going to fizzle out. They are nothing but virtue signaling. I think this has become the most important characteristic of the Democratic Party, just signaling how virtuous they are when indeed their policies are quite hypocritical. Anyway, so this is what I'm talking about when I say Democrats are plotting to subvert democracy. There have been several reports recently. I think it was Politico and then Axios and then the NPR who have reported that the Biden administration is trying to Trump-proof aid to Ukraine. So Joe Biden and his colleagues in the State Department and the National Security Council are plotting to ensure that a duly elected American president with a massive mandate from the public, he won all the 7 states which are key. He basically won all the battleground states. He pacified them. There is no battle left in the battleground states. So the Democrats in the Biden administration are plotting to Trump-proof American foreign policy towards Ukraine. They want to continue sending billions of dollars of American taxpayers, money, and weapons funded by American taxpayers to Ukraine in such a way that a duly elected American president will not be able to block it. The most important function of the American president according to the Constitution, is to be commander-in-chief and basically diplomat-in-chief. Foreign policy is predominantly the domain of the executive, while domestic policy is split between the president and the Congress, more or less. Generally, the other two branches of government defer to the president when it comes to foreign policy. And Joe Biden is trying to ensure that his interests and his party or his elite or whatever it is, because the public has already spoken. Trump has repeatedly, hundreds of times on his campaign, talked about his Ukraine policy, and he got voted in. It's very clear that the American public either don't care about Ukraine or they are in agreement with Donald Trump. Yes, a small bunch of elite in Washington, D.C. and the Democratic Party are more concerned about foreign affairs and foreign countries because they are all very rich and well off. And so they're now trying to undermine American democracy by trying to ensure that a duly elected American president will not be able to pursue. I mean, just the very idea of it. I don't think they'll be able to do it. I don't think they will succeed in doing it, but they have done similar things. They have broken American law. I will talk about it in this show in pursuit of their foreign policy goals. So it's quite possible they might illegally send off some weapons and billions of dollars to Ukraine in such a way that Donald Trump will not be able to exercise his elected mandate to shape American foreign policy. As we speak, Blinken is right now in Europe. As soon as Trump won, he's scooted off to Europe to sit down with his European partners and collude against US national interests. He's actually sitting there and plotting with NATO and European leaders on how to block the American president from achieving his foreign policy goals. This is what Blinken is actually doing in Europe. You can go and look at it. For those of you who are listening to this show and not watching it, I recommend that you also watch this because I insert newspaper articles to back up whatever I'm saying. So when I'm talking about, for example, when I say that Biden's team is debating on how to trump for foreign policy, I'm showing you an article from AFP, a screenshot of an article from AFP, when I'm saying that Blinken is in Europe right now. He's actually in Brussels. I'm showing you a screenshot of a newspaper, of a magazine article, Euronews, in today's Euronews. So it might help that you watch rather than just listen. But if you can't watch, just listen and keep in mind that when I make these kind of claims, the specific claims, I always try to back them up with newspaper articles. There are 3 more articles that I will show you during the course of this discussion. So there are about 5 citations in this presentation. So Blinken is right there colluding with European leaders on how to basically undermine the American president from achieving his foreign policy goals, because Blinken's and Biden's foreign policy goals are more important because, of course, they have been kicked out of power in such an unceremonious fashion. I need not remind you that the most humiliated president in a long time in American history is Joe Biden. He has been so badly humiliated by his own party that you are a loser, get out. If you are in charge, we will lose. And now we have data to back that up. There are reports that suggest that Biden's internal polling said that he would lose 400 electoral college votes if he had stayed in power or if he had stayed in the campaign and ran. Anyway, so Biden is right now there colluding. So point number 1, it is to me very depressing that Democrats, after campaigning on let's protect democracy, are doing their utmost to subvert American democracy going forward. And of course, these are short-sighted, stupid people. Imagine if they succeed even partially, what they are going to do. They're going to set a precedent and they're going to show the Republicans how to do it. So on his way out, can you imagine what Trump might do to proof policies from the future incoming administration? He's already done that with regards to Supreme Court by installing judges who are young. He could, I don't want to give him ideas, but he could actually expand the Supreme Court with adding two more 15-year-olds. He has the huge mandate. It's not necessary that incoming president in the next term in 2029 will be a Democrat, could be another Republican. But even if a Democrat comes, will he have the kind of mandate that Donald Trump has? But anyway, that's my first point, that Democrats are trying to subvert democracy. With regards to Ukraine, when it's very strange when it comes to these two countries, there is no morality. Israel and Ukraine, for the Democrats, no moral principle is worth standing up for. That's it. Whatever these two countries want, we will give it to them. The law be damned, morality be damned, hypocrisy be damned, whatever. It's unbelievable. They are becoming people with no sense of morality, legality, or anything. The second point that I want to raise is actually quite far-fetched, but I'm quite surprised that it is even being considered, and the fact that it has been leaked. It's on CNN, you can see it on their CNN television, you can see it on CNN's website. And that article is discussing that apparently some generals and some senior officers in the Department of Defense are informally discussing, which means plotting, on what they will do if the president gives them orders that they don't like. What are they going to do? They're going to rebel. We're going to have a coup. Will the US military take out Donald Trump? Apparently, the previous General Miley had tried to make sure that the elected American president, was not able to use the nuclear weapons, and some soldier, never got a single vote in his life, was controlling how the US nuclear weapons would be used. It's just mind-boggling, and it's what's troubling me is that people who campaign on the democracy slogan did not find this troubling or even treasonous. But this is terrible. So apparently some people in the Department of Defense are saying that if the president makes controversial suggestions or orders, such as using the military against domestic enemies, then what should they do? Well, what will you do? Obey. What else will you do? Will you disobey? You can resign. That's fine. The more qualified people retire or leave the US military, the more American national interests and security interests will be served. In the interest of what? The fear is that Donald Trump is going to use the US military to do something really, really horrible, which is round up people who are undocumented in this country, illegal migrants, and forcibly deport them. It raises nightmares. Imagine that, cops going all over the country, military tanks being driven around, picking people up and saying, show me your passport. When Donald Trump got elected the first time, let me show you. I spent, I think, $800 to get 4 of these cards. This is I don't want to show it clearly. This is a passport, actually. And I gave it to my wife and my 2 kids. So just in case we are rounded up for deportation because the color of our skin, we can at least prove that we are citizens. One of my kids, very young kids, said, yeah, but you're assuming that ICE people are very smart about what if they don't know what a passport card is? I said, I hope not, but at least that will slow them down. So anyway, if Donald Trump orders the army to go around rounding people and deporting them, what should they do? I don't know, but for the military to say that we do not want to listen to the elected president, that doesn't sound like America. That sounds like Pakistan or Turkey or Egypt. And the very fact that it is being reported as if something wonderful is happening by legacy media tells you how far away we have moved from democracy. But let me tell you something. There is a law called the Insurrection Act of 1807, which was modified twice. And according to the Insurrection Act, the American president is authorized to use military against domestic threats, not only against domestic threats which are national in nature, but if there are domestic threats even to states. he can use the military and even the National Guard. So if he does order the military to do something on the domestic front, I don't think it will be illegal. It will be bad taste, awful, horrible, fascistic, and terrible and inhuman, no doubt about it. America's immigration policy as it is horrible. We distinguish between legal and illegal, etc. This is God's earth. Just to say this is my part and that part. I don't know. It's much more complicated because we pay taxes and they don't pay taxes and so on and so forth. So there are lots of complications to make facile moral judgments. But nevertheless, for a country that has been built by immigrants, to treat immigrants like that is terrible. But for a party that campaigns on democracy, to entertain undemocratic, in fact, anti-democratic ideas, I think is hypocritical and terrible. And someone needs to speak out about it. And so I'm here talking to you about it. I condemn it. I've been a lifelong Democrat. I've never voted for Republicans. I've never given a penny to Republicans. Whatever little money I've given in politics to Democrats. And yet I find that when it comes to certain countries like Israel and now Ukraine, the Democrats just sold their souls away. They just don't believe in anything. They make all kinds of hypocritical comments. For example, they're quick to declare that Russia was committing genocide in Ukraine. And now when Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, they come up with all these funny arguments. You know, they're all highly educated, PhDs, lawyers, etc. So they have come up with an idea, which they don't use the word, but basically in their heads, they have come up with justifiable genocide. That's the idea in their head, the way they justify. And you will see a lot of that also. Listen to Marco Rubio talk about Gaza, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's also kind of ironic that both the Department of Defense and the Department of State are worried that Trump might make illegal demands of the bureaucracies when they themselves have been violating what is called the Lehi Law. This is also, you should see this. There's an interesting article published in May of 2024 by Quincy Institute, a libertarian think tank in Washington, and they have their own publication called Responsible Statecraft. And this is a wonderful and interesting article that shows how the drafter of Lehi Law says it was never applied to Israel. If a government doesn't want to comply with the law, they shouldn't receive U.S. assistance. And that was the point of this whole thing. So units which commit human rights violations, which the State Department has already claimed that these particular units, and they should be cut off by U.S. military aid. In fact, the army that kills thousands and thousands of children continues to get billions of dollars of weapons on demand. And that is a violation of Lehi Law. And so it's pretty rich for Blinken and Joe Biden and the generals in the Department of Defense to speculate that in the future, Donald Trump might make demands which are illegal, and then what we should do what you're doing now. When Biden issued illegal orders, you complied. Anyway, I'm going to stop with that. I hope you found this conversation thoughtful, and I'm going to start a section where I will start evaluating Donald Trump's policies as and when they come out. I will be having serious conversations. I'm a bit busy doing international media right now about the first day agenda of Donald Trump. But I will try in the next 48 hours to also provide a conversation on, it's a pretty scary agenda for day one. And I will talk about that. But until then, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Don't forget to subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share it with your socio-political network. And if possible, do become a member of Khanversations. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.